Hello, hello. I think I can see some people coming in. Hello, hello, everybody. So it is a little delayed on my end when you were in. If you don't mind just giving me a hello or a thumbs up to let me know that you can hear me okay and that you were here. And also let me know where you were from. That's lovely too. Hello. Okay. Oh, hi, Louise. See, Lulu, Angela. Hi, Angela. Hello, Court. Hello, hi. Oh, I'm getting thumbs up and hearts. Perfect. Okay. And I am trying a microphone tonight just so that it helps with the audio, because I guess some of the other ones weren't loud enough. So if you can just let me know too, guys, if the audio is working. Just give me a yes to audio or something like that, please and thank you. Then I know everybody can hear me. Margie. Hi, Margie. Heather. Hi, Heather. Hello, everybody. Aloha, Nikita. Good evening. Hear you great. Perfect. Thank you, Eleanor. Lovely. So I'm just going to give everyone a few minutes to get in. I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I see it from Heather, Renews, New Brunswick. Perfect. Actually, I will mention Renews in a few minutes. If you we got some Moncton coming in. Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me tonight on your Saturday night. I appreciate you being here. Again, I'll just give everyone a few moments to get in here. 7:03. Yep. So I'll just give everyone to 5 after, and then I will start with a couple of little details about things I'm working on. Perfect. All right. Yes, I can see Lynn can hear me okay, and Sarah, Kelly, yes, can hear you. Thank you, guys. Perfect. Thank you so much. From a very hot Ireland. Oh, well, welcome. Hi, Inga. Welcome, welcome. Perfect. All right, lovely. Audio is perfect. Thank you, guys. Perfect. Sorry, I think I'm tacky and then I change it every week. So I have to stay with the one thing now. So I will use this speaker every time I do a live video. Then I know everybody can hear me okay. We got Bathurst and Miramichi. Hello, Dorothy. And Ellen also from Miramichi. Perfect. All right. Heather, hello, hello. Williamstown, New Brunswick. Hello, Sharon. All right. Oh, Baktouche. Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Okay. I think everybody is coming in here, and it sounds like you can see me, and I'm getting things through loud and clear. Perfect. And Paulette can hear me. Coming in, Sandra from Rogersville. Fantastic. All right. I will just give everyone a few more minutes. Actually, we're at 7:04, so I'll give everybody one more minute. I'll only be so patient, then we'll jump into it, because I've got some exciting news I want to share with everybody tonight, if you haven't already seen on the page. All right. Will you be taking appointments again on September 1st? Yes, I will mention that as soon as we actually jump right into it. That was from Cindy. Yes, so I will mention that as soon as we start, Cindy. Just I give everyone the few minutes to get themselves settled in. And if you were like me, you got your nice cup of tea or coffee. I got this beautiful new mug this week in Moncton from Boutique Mistral. It's a lovely little store they have down there. Be sure to check it out if you were there. Hello from Texas. Oh, hi, Rory. How are you, hon? Grand Lake, Pennsylvania. Fantastic. All right. So I think we are good. Let me have a look here. 5 after. Okay, perfect. So I am going to jump right in. So hello, everybody, and welcome to the live question and answer that we are doing again this week. As I mentioned before on the last video that I uploaded, the live talks that I did. Sorry, I woke up from a nap about 20 minutes ago, so I'm not quite back in my body yet. So the video that I did with the live readings, I mentioned that I'm going to be swapping back and forth each month and offering a different style. So this month is this on the Facebook Messenger here, or sorry, on the Facebook Live, which is going to be the question and answer. And then next month again back on Instagram, it's going to be the live readings like I did before. So this way it just lets everybody who works between the different platforms have an opportunity to also be able to witness one of the live events or to tune in for the live events while I'm doing them. Let me see. Aramakto. All right. Are you coming to Miramichi? Yes, I am getting a lot of these questions already, so I'm going to address that. First and foremost, so for anyone who hasn't ever met me before, my name is Paleki, and I'm a spiritual medium located in Fredericton, New Brunswick. So what that means is I communicate with your family and friends that have passed home to the other side. So I've been doing this work almost full time for the past 20 years now, almost coming up in 20 years there, I believe 18, 19, around there. So yes, so I'm doing the live events and on live videos for people who aren't able to get in to see me because my bookings do fill up very quickly. Just to address, I believe it was Cindy who asked that question earlier. So yes, I am going to open bookings again on September the 1st at midnight. So it's August 31st sort of slash when it goes into September 1st at midnight. And that was just years ago. I started opening them in September, and then it just kind of happened that midnight became the time that I open them, and then their bookings are open for about an hour. So from 12 to 1 in the morning, and then I'll just sort of go on the first come first serve random selection again process like I did last year. And that's just unfortunately because there are so many people trying to get in for sessions with me now that I have to do it that way. It's the fairest way possible, and it gives everyone a fair opportunity to be able to get in for a session. So yeah, so please keep a watch on the pages, either this one, the Angel Messages by Paleki, or on Instagram, spiritual.medium.paleki. You can also find it there. So yeah, so I am seeing a couple of questions. Okay, so I will get right to questions one second, but I did see are you coming to Miramichi from Kim? So yes, that is the exciting news that a few of you have probably seen the post on the page where I put in a few requests to ask for some help finding locations. So next week, I believe it is Friday, they are going back to Green in the province of New Brunswick here. So yay, thumbs up. We are able to actually start doing tours and public readings like before. So I'm actually going to start doing a little tour around the province of New Brunswick. So I'm trying to find the locations. So it's going to be called the Messages from Heaven tour, and I'm going to be going to different spaces. So right now I'm lining up Fredericton, Moncton, Miramichi, and St. John, but it also looks like I might be adding a few locations, and I believe I'm going to be looking into Renouf, New Brunswick, and also Bay St. Anne. So just keep a watch on the page because all of those will be posted as I work them out kind of and figure out the dates and schedule. All right, so let me see. All right, so this is again going to be a slightly different one to the live readings that I did last time, just because when I am doing a Facebook Live, they are actually difficult for me to sort of add the other people onto the screen like I get to do on Instagram. So this one is again going to be more of a general question and answer sort of about death and dying for people. Then if you want, so you can get all your basic questions around death and dying answered. Then next month, if you tune in as well, if I have the time available, it'll be on Instagram, and then I'll actually be doing live readings with people too. All right, so it's a bit of a mix-up tonight, so let me have a look. All right, so I'm scrolling through questions. So if you have any questions that you would like to know about death, dying, or spirituality, you can just type them right in the bottom, and I will see if I can get to them, if I feel like they kind of work for everybody. And also, before I forget, I haven't seen any coming in yet, but I normally do get spammers on my page saying, click this link, it'll take you to the live talk and everything. Please don't click any links that anybody posts on the page. And if you see a suspicious looking link where somebody's sort of trying to get you to go to another area, please report it as spam, and I'll try to go back after and catch it all. Okay, so from Jess. What happens if someone I loved has passed from an overdose? So an overdose passing is actually going to be the same sort of passing that you would get when you either have a suicide passing or one where it's the person's involvement is actually helping lead towards their death or leads towards the crossing from the human body. So they will still cross home the same as everybody else. So an overdose passes in the same way, but the way it can work too is each one's going to be an individual process. So they'll all be looked at differently. They don't just go all overdoses are lumped together, and this is the reason it happens. With an overdose, what can happen if the person's caught in the lessons of addiction, or they are in a place where they're no longer functional in the human life and it's no longer beneficial to them, they can actually allow for an overdose to sort of be almost not an earlier passing, because we pass when we're meant to, but almost if there's a place where they go, well, it's not going to benefit you and you're not actually going to be able to correct that energy to sort of get yourself back onto the original lessons you planned. So they'll kind of go, okay, this overdose is going to be the method for your passing. So it'll be similar in the sense that you're kind of going a little bit before planned, but it's not necessarily in the exact same way that you would have with a suicide passing. But those spirits themselves, overdose, suicides, anything like that, they'll still pass home to the other side just like everybody else. The only difference is they'll have a life review. So with an overdose personality or somebody that would have struggled with addiction patterns while they were human, they're going to have their life review, but they'll see how their addiction pattern affected other people, but also how it changed the initial plan that they would have had, how it would have caused a ripple into other lives that they maybe were going to work with beforehand. So there won't be any judgment. They won't be sort of criticized or ridiculed for what they've done, but there will be an accountability for their actions so that the spirit can learn that what they did had an effect on other people as well. Then they, depending on the spirits and if they're willing to work with other people, may be reborn if that opportunity presents itself back into the same family grouping so they can try those lessons again. Or they might be given the opportunity where they don't have to come back to be human if they feel that that was too much for them to take on, and then they don't need to be reborn back onto earth again. So again, each one would be specifically, their guides would work with them, their angels would work with them to find out what their ideal situation would be for their ultimate soul growth, and then they would be given permission to make that decision because they do have free will for their spirit. Perfect. All right. Hi there. Hi there. All right. Okay, and actually that sort of segues into Aaron's messages here. Aaron's message, what happens to a spirit when one takes their own life by suicide? So same thing, kind of that I was mentioning, that spirit will cross home in the same way. So this belief that we're given on earth that suicides are judged and they go to hell or they're stuck in purgatory, it's not actually correct information. That's based on fear-based patterns that we create while we're human. All spirits get to cross home. The only difference, like I mentioned with the suicide passing, is that they would have to take accountability for their actions. So again, in specifically the case of a suicide, it would be, this is what you missed out on in your life, this is what you had planned. So maybe if a person passes young from a suicide and they were meant to get married and have children, they'll go, okay, so you didn't meet this person to get married, you didn't have the children with them. So you'll see what you missed out on, but it'll be more from like an experience of, oh, these are what your actions have caused. How would you like to change that? How would you like to work on that? How does that help your spirit grow? Because everything that we go through as humans, what we deem positive or negative, is still the potential for growth on our spirit, and they will allow us to grow from that. But they'll make sure that we have all of the information we need available to make positive assessments for our own soul growth so that we can make the next best decision that again is going to benefit our spirit choosing to come back, or if we want to stay on that side and work on different things for our spirit. All right. I hope I get to see you when you come to Miramichi. Yes, fingers crossed. All right. Yes, so just if anybody has questions about the talks and that, like I said, I don't have anything set in stone right now. I'm just putting it out. I'm contacting hotels, figuring out what dates everybody has available so that I can kind of work around it. But I'll be doing it like last time with Eventbrite, where I'll be putting the tickets online and you'll be able to purchase them, and then that way it's done safely, just because we had some spammers before coming on the page and they were saying they were trying to sell fake tickets, and I managed to catch them, but I think there was 8 or 9 of them at the one talk trying to sell bogus tickets from like Russia, and I think we had a Brazilian one if I'm not mistaken. And so the Eventbrite just ensures that they're done safely, and then I can monitor that, and then you just print off everything with the door. But I'll make a post when the event for each area is going live, and then all you do is click on it the next day. So I'll say to people like, Miramichi is going to be posted tomorrow at 6 o'clock, make sure you're online for it, just because people missed the Moncton one when I put it up before. So I'll do that, and then you just click on, and then unfortunately it's again first come first serve. But hopefully if I'm offering enough locations, you should be able to get in for one of them at least that's close to you, if you can't get into your exact one right in your town. All right. Keep smelling perfume in my room. From Rachel. Yes, that's actually very common to either smell things like perfume or cigarette smoke, or you might even smell, if somebody smoked a lot of pot when they were alive, you might actually even smell weed. So what they're basically doing is when spirits pass away, they don't communicate with us in the same way that we communicate with each other. So they'll actually work with our senses as a way to be able to bring us different messages and communication. So where we communicate with each other normally either through visual cues or through things that are like auditory, like we're going to speak to each other or we might say something that the other one hears. They'll do different things. So they might actually present you with a sound or a voice. You might actually work with the sense of smell, that you'll smell something, the auditory, where you'll actually hear something. You might see something, depending either if it's done in a vision or if it's physically in the room with you, like manifesting an animal, or the things like a dime, 1111. So you might get all different things that they're going to work with. But normally when I'll do something like smell the perfume or smell a scent like that, I'll honor it and go, oh, thank you so much for sending me a message. Please continue to use that method to continue to communicate with me. That way it lets them know that you've honored the message and that you've received it, so they know they can keep using it as a way to add sort of to their list of ways to connect and communicate with you. All right. All right. Sorry, and I'm scrolling here. When someone passes, are they arriving awake on the other side? Yes, technically in the way, I guess, when we would say they have their spiritual awakening or the spiritual awareness. So when the spirit leaves the body, it's technically already awake. So again, it depends on the type of passing that you're going to have. Some spirits, depending if the transition process might be challenging for them, but that's, again, rare cases. It doesn't always happen. They might sort of kind of come to, I guess, or wake up on the other side. But the majority of spirits, what's going to happen is they'll be aware of what's going on when they step out of the body. So they'll see their physical body dying and they'll go, oh, my human body is passing away. And then in most cases, you're going to have either your spirit guides be with you or a human that you worked with while you were alive that's going to connect with you. And then they'll sort of cross you home. Then you're going to go through what people call the tunnel, or when they say, you know, I died and my life flashed before my eyes. That's basically your spirit's downloading all the information of what it did while it was human. So it stores it sort of in an ethereal place that it doesn't need to sort of keep track of while it's human. Then all of the knowledge comes back to your spirit when you pass instantly. Then you'll have that awareness. And when you're going through the tunnel that people talk about, that's actually your spirit raising its vibration back up. So we lower our vibration and frequency so that we can exist in human bodies, because Earth vibrates at a lower frequency than the other side. So when we pass through that tunnel, then we will be on the other side, as it were, sort of the pearly gates that people talk about, but it won't necessarily be like pearly gates from that context. But then you will cross home, and most spirits are going to go straight away into what was called the Garden of Remembrance. So it's a sacred space that's kind of like a communal garden. And in Christian traditions, they do sort of have that slight memory of that, where they say that before we became human, we were cast out of the Garden of Eden. So that is sort of, you can get the remembrance of the garden through different religious texts from around the world, but that's basically what they're speaking of, is the garden on the other side. And then you'll kind of reconnect with your spirit guides, you'll reconnect with all those other spirits. So in that context, yes, but it's not like you would think that it's like you die as a human and then suddenly you're awake on the other side. It could be, depending on if that's what the spirit needs as their best version of transition. But death is not seen as a negative or scary thing when you actually die. Oftentimes, unfortunately, when it comes to things like movies or when it comes to sort of stories and that, we glamorize it as humans. So we almost make out, you know, the poor spirits are getting lost somewhere, or these poor little things are stuck and, you know, they're confused when they come out of the body. That genuinely, it's very, I have never come across a spirit myself. This is not to say it couldn't happen, I suppose, that was not aware of the fact that they were dead. They might not have been wanting to cross home. They might have felt like they had to do stuff, or they wanted to pass on a message. Then after I helped them, they were happily passing on. But it's very rare that you'll get ones that are actually genuinely confused of what's happening. The only time you might get a bit of a sort of disconnect or a bit of a not understanding, I guess, of what's happening is if the spirit genuinely believes they're meant to go to hell, or they're meant to like struggle in a purgatory place, and then they can manifest a location like that after they die, and it will almost cause like a confusion for the spirit because it doesn't recognize where it is and it doesn't quite know where it's gone. So that sort of confusion can sometimes happen, but there's normally other guides, again, like I say, waiting to cross you to prevent that from happening. In the rare case that you do sort of get stuck in that weird space, you'll get other spirits coming to get you straight away to escort you out of there, or you'll just come to the understanding that you go, oh, this doesn't feel right, this isn't where I'm meant to be, and then you just cross straight back from there. So all right, got a dime and all week seeing 111 11 11. Okay, that's from Heather. There's a mothering energy around you, love. Sorry, unfortunately I apologize. I can't do the connected readings tonight because Facebook didn't let us do it last time properly, and it kept slowing down the system, so I couldn't get all the answers that I wanted. But we will see what I can do for you guys tonight. Um, oh, this is a good one. If you have a loved one who wanted to be cremated and you do not follow through with that, are they still settled and are they okay with it? Yes. Technically, the minute that you disconnect from your body, you stop worrying about what happens to the body. So I always tell people, picture that when you die, you're going to view your body like a shirt that you've outgrown or like an old pair of pants. You go, oh yeah, whatever, put it in the trash. It's served its purpose. The body or the ceremonies of the actual rituals themselves, the actual funerals themselves, are really more for the benefit of the living, but the dead will receive the loving energy that you send to them through those rituals and practices. So they'll know how much you cared about them, and they also get to see the bigger picture. So if they wanted to be cremated, but you decided to go ahead and bury them, or you feel that you didn't fulfill those wishes, don't worry. They're not going to be sitting on the other side angry about it. They get to see the big picture, so they'll know why you ultimately made the decision that you made. And then if it's the most peaceful thing for the family or it's the most beneficial for your healing, then they're completely okay with that. And especially where it would be one of those, if you are worried about that, I always tell people, talk to your loved ones. Go, I'm sorry, I know you wanted to be cremated, but we didn't. We buried you. This is the reason. It helps you as well, knowing that you're verbalizing to them and you've explained it, rather than feeling like you've kind of kept a secret from them. But they would still know the entire time already what it is that you actually did for them or why it is. And again, every spirit will cross home fine. That's why you'll have spirits that are peacefully on the other side, even if their bodies are never found. So like ones that, like if you that sad accident that happened in Florida where the building collapsed. So if they don't find the bodies, they'll still be at peace. They're still on the other side. It just means that they didn't need the body for the physical act of the funeral. Or if somebody goes missing, or if somebody falls off a boat and you never locate the body again, things like that. They will still be at peace on the other side. And it's more for the living that you can do it. So that's why we say if you don't have a body available, you can actually still do a ritual or ceremony yourself and still do an honoring for them, because they're still going to receive that same intention or energy even without the physical body being there present by you. After passing, how long can it take for spirits to communicate with us? That is from Cindy. Thanks, Cindy. It actually depends on the spirit and the person who is receiving the message. Myself, my sister was talking to me the day she died. So when she passed in her impact accident, the one I posted about today, who got her. It's her angelversary, which is why I'm doing the live connection tonight. So yes, that one I was talking to her straight away, and the next day, right after she passed. But her messages got a lot stronger. It's normally, I tell people, rule of thumb though, depending on the person, and again, because you can get messages right away if you're open to them, and as long as the spirit's not worrying about upsetting you, they'll make sure that you do get them. But it's normally about a 6 month to a year window, because that's long enough for the living to be grounded, and also for those that have passed to recenter, figure themselves out again, go through the life review, make sure everything's okay. So I always tell people, if you haven't been receiving messages or connections like 6 months to a year after the passing, don't worry about it. It's completely normal. It just means that spirit may be worried about you. So I'll tell people, if you're going through that case that you don't feel you've been getting your link, literally just say to them, I know I'm grieving. I know I might still be sad, but I still want you to connect with me. Please make sure that you bring me the messages. That way they'll know that you're okay with them connecting before they feel that you're ready. And most cases, once you do that, they'll actually step in and start bringing you active communication right after. All right. If you see the name often of a close relative that has passed, does that mean that they're reaching out? Yes. Yes, that actually does. And that one was from Heidi. Thanks, Heidi. Yes. So any sort of thing that I explain to people that you're going to get that's like a weird validation or a weird connection. So if you see the name of your loved one and you go, that's really weird. I saw it on a magazine article, then I saw it on TV, then I saw it on, like, they'll put them in very weird places so that it does stand out to you all the time. Those ones, 100%, yes, connections from loved ones, because they'll use it to get your attention because they know the name will stand out to you. Same thing like with the smell. If they know, like we mentioned earlier, like if they know that you are recognizing and acknowledging the perfume, you'll tend to get that more frequently because they know that you're honoring it. And the more you honor it, the stronger the connection gets on your side. And then the easier it is for them to bring you more validations and connections. But yes, so that one's an easy one. That would definitely be yes on that one. Okay. Okay. When someone passes, do they pass quickly to the Lord? Are they afraid? No. Like I mentioned earlier, very, very rarely you will ever get a spirit that is scared to die. Majority of souls are going to know what happens. There's two different types of deaths that you can have. One's called the instant passing, which is where you're going to have something like an accident or something like that, where you're stepping out of the body quickly. Those spirits will instantly know the minute they pass what's happened. And then the other type of death is called an active passing, which is what you're going to have if you're sick, like something with the cancer, anything like that, where it's a longer drawn out sickness, where you may have been struggling or your physical body was going through a lot before the passing and you know it's coming. Same thing. So a lot of those times those spirits are going to get ready. So even if in that type of death the person is scared before they die, they're actually the minute they pass going to get all their knowledge recognition back, what they were able to learn. And again, majority of cases you're going to have somebody cross you home. So no, it's very rarely myself, and I mean, again, I'm not saying things can't happen. I'm not saying mine is the only way it goes, but it is. I have never come across a spirit that has been scared to cross over when they're ready to cross over. I've never, in all the years that I've done it, experienced it when they know there's somewhere else they're meant to go or somebody's waiting for them. And again, majority of cases, even before the person dies, they'll have dead family members either in the car with them, or if they're completing the suicide, in the room with them, in the hospital room. You'll have people with them getting the soul ready. That's why you'll often see people looking or talking to dead family before they pass, if they've had an active passing, because they'll already be getting comfortable with them. Then they just cross straight home with them. All right. All right. Okay, I'm seeing a lot for people asking for family, and let me see. I'm hoping. I wonder if we'll be able to try that tonight. Um, Oh, okay. From Rita. This is okay. I had four glasses from my uncle's whose past house, but they may not have been his. Somehow I managed to knock them over one after the other in the span of a month this spring, which is odd. What type of message would that spirit be wanting me to receive? So yeah, actually, in a case like that, those ones are actually quite neat, because I've had something like that too, where I break something that belonged to somebody who died, and it's more we tend to worry about it or panic more than they do. Normally, when you do something like that, it's their way of being like, "Hey, I know you were in my house. I know you took the cups." But it's also their way of being like, "Don't worry about babying my stuff or being scared about it. It's okay if things get damaged. I'm still okay." It's normally their way of saying, "Don't take it so seriously, or don't, protect it like a Fabergé egg, as it were, kind of thing." But no, in a case like that where things knock over and they do break like that, normally it depends on the spirit as well. Because I've actually had some where they've broken stuff during people's readings because they think it's funny because it gets their attention. So again, it depends on the spirit. Sometimes when they break things, it's because they were a trickster or a joker kind of person when they were alive, and they find that quite amusing. But yes, in a case like that where it'd be odd that all four of them break in the course of a month, I'd say yeah, that's definitely him trying to get your attention at least. Um, if they pass suddenly, do they try to get back? No, no. Spirits don't try to get back in the body. Once you've left the body, you know you can't get back in. You'll have the physical awareness that you can't get back in. The only time they'll try to come back, I guess, is we'll word it physically, is if they have the opportunity available in the family to be reborn again. So, say you lose a child, they may potentially come back through another one of your children as a grandchild, or they might come back as a great grandchild, depending if they can still learn the same lessons. But when they die like that, no, they'll tend to stay around family to try to comfort them. But you wouldn't. It's kind of like the same thing, like I said, when you find an old pair of pants that you no longer need or fit in, you're not going to try to keep putting them on. You're just going to go to the other pair of pants. Same thing with the human body. So again, we see it very differently when we're alive because we still have an attachment to the body and to the physical life that we're living. So we couldn't picture not being in it or not being with the people that we're around. They see it more from a spiritual way. So they know they're interconnected to everything. So even though they're not in a physical body, they are still able to cross back and forth to visit with us and be with us and connect with us, just in a slightly different way. So no, they don't have a necessity or a need to get back into the physical form if it's not going to benefit their growth anymore. If one reincarnates, can you still connect with them on the other side? Yes, yeah. So if somebody has reincarnated or any spirit that's incarnated on Earth right now, you technically have a piece of your spirit still back on the other side. So when we're doing readings and I'm connecting and I say, oh, your spirit's fighting with me, or, your spirit's very open, your spirit's letting me do this, or kind of, work through stuff, that's that part of your soul on the other side. Then that part of your soul is working with your spirits and angels when we do a reading. And then that's also the part that we basically say is like when I tell people we're doing a reading, you're the battery. That's that soul energy that's going to allow the reading to remain open, or as open as it wants it to be, to allow us to get the messages from the deceased loved ones. But yes, it is. So if somebody's down here, you can technically talk. I guess you would say an easy way to say it is people would call it your higher self or your higher intuition. That would be sort of that part of your soul on the other side. Then you would have your guides that are automatically connected to that. And when you meditate, because you can hear from your guides on the same vibration, that's how we receive messages from them on the physical. Mm, okay. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, hon. I'm sending you a hug for this one. Marie May, I believe it is. I never got to say goodbye to my 18-year-old son that passed suddenly from his type 1 diabetes in his apartment in Moncton by himself. They're actually, sorry, and I was saying I wasn't going to do it, but you know how spirits work. I'm just the guy who sits in the middle. Um, um, he's giving a heart tap, my love. Sorry, he was picking on your one to make it stand out. He's giving a heart tap, what actually means you already said goodbye to him after he passed. You told him that you already loved him. Now, when it comes to somebody passing by themselves, no spirit ever dies alone. They might not have physical people with them, physical family, friends, something like that, but they will still have somebody actually be with them. Like I mentioned, their guides or angels. So I can promise you, your son would not have passed alone. He would have had plenty of spirits there to help him over. When they pass suddenly like that and it's unexpected, it also means that he was only meant to have a set amount of life here as a human. He only needed specific lessons. And then when those lessons were done, he was able to use the diabetes as sort of like the avenue to facilitate the passing from the physical body so the spirit could end its human life. But in a case like that, that would be again, one I'd like to do more detail with you, kind of thing. But yes, you where you say goodbye to him after he knows you love him, so you don't have to worry about it. I know. Mm. hmm Sorry, hon. Forgive me, and I know I didn't wasn't doing readings, but here we go. um, he's also tapping for me, sweetie, which means he says don't worry about it. He knows how much you cared about him, and he says that you're worrying that he's by himself or that he doesn't have anyone there with him. He's fine. He's giving me a darker blue, which means there's a grandfathering energy with him. It would be an older gentleman that's with him on that side, but it'd be on the male side of the family. It's from his dad's side of the family or the male side. He just wants to let you know that they're together and that he's being looked after. Okay. No, now he's happy. Thank you. Yeah. He says you still talk to his picture all the time, so he says you're fine. He knows that he's there listening to you. Okay. When you cross over, do we stay the same age? Depends on the spirit. When a spirit comes back to me during a reading, oftentimes they'll present themselves as the age that they were, so that I'll be able to recognize who they are and you can recognize who they are. So if you lost, like for example, I apologize. Let me see. I forgot your name here. Marie May. In the case of her son, if we ever did a reading, he would come back to me as 18 so that she would recognize him or it'd present like 18. But if he wanted to, he could also present to me like he would be the age he is now. Because I'll have that happen in readings too, where I'll go, oh, the person looks 21, and they'll be like, oh, he died at 8. It's that he would be 21 now, or that he'd be in that age grouping now. So they'll be coming through. So that one, again, just individually depends on the spirit that's coming through. But in the majority of cases, they tend to come back either in the age that we recognize. Then when I see them in the spirit form, most souls will tend to go to the age in their body if they still want to have that similar looking physical form where they felt the healthiest or they felt the best about themselves. And in most cases, that would be in their 20s. So a lot of the time when we cross, because we recognize spirits, we'll know who they are. But you would actually recognize, say, if your parents passed, you would see them again, but they may present to you in their 20s, but you would know it's them just by the soul vibration or recognition. But it's just that was their happiest, healthiest space of the body. So they would choose to present themselves like that because they prefer that. Okay. Not long ago, you talked about pets passing. I swear I can hear my dog walking across the floor. Is that possible? That is from Kelly. Yes, it is. Animals come back all the time. I have my cats visit all the time that have passed. Often people that have had pets, you'll get them sitting on the bed with you. So there'll be people sleeping, and you'll actually feel like the cat jumped on the bed with you again, or the dog. And in my case, I've got other living animals still in the house with me. So I'll actually have to check who's climbed on the bed with me. Because anybody who's known me for a while, you know Sugar, my cat who's journeyed to the other side. She visits me all the time, and yes, you'll get that, especially with the dogs, where you'll hear that scratching. Or even if they tended to have like a favorite toy, you might even hear them playing with the toy, or you might hear like that sounds coming from it. They'll still do the same thing like humans will. They'll just present different ways to come across. But most cases where you are familiar with that sound, your dog will be using that to let you know they're still in the house with you. Yes. Um, okay. And this is Joanne. I work in a nursing home and I'm often in the room when residents are passing. Is there more of an opportunity to connect to the other side and spirits at this time? For the living, it depends. Not in a rude way that I say this. It doesn't mean they don't love people. But they're kind of preoccupied trying to make sure the dead person is getting out of the room safely. So I tell people, yes, depending if you're open, you might be able to sort of be witness to, but not necessarily participating in, depending on the family and how they're trying to get somebody over. But yes, you can actually receive very strong validations and connections from not only the person who's passing, but those that have already died before them during the process of somebody's death. But it's not necessarily that you can get it easier. I tell people I can connect with somebody just as easily in my living room as I could if I was in like a funeral home when that person's having their actual funeral ceremony. So it just depends on the spirit themselves and your willingness to be open to link up. Hmm, okay. Um, let me see this. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out. Sorry, Yvonne, I'm just trying to figure out what this means. If you don't live your life, probably you will be sent back for what you missed out on. Sorry, I'm not sure if that's a question or more of a statement. No, I'm assuming this is meaning if it's like a suicide passing, I believe. No, nobody is ever sent back. This thing where this belief that a spirit is forced to come back to Earth. No, every spirit has to choose their life because, again, if you're going to be reborn, you've actively got to participate because you're going to pick your parents again. You have to pick siblings. If you're going to get married, if you're going to have children, you have to pick those spirits. They don't just sort of fling you back down and then it's sort of like whatever happens, happens. No, but some spirits will choose to come back. Yes, if again, like I said, that opportunity presents. So, say you pass younger and your siblings are still young and you had a lot of lessons with your siblings, you may be able to come back to one of your siblings as one of their children. But then you'll kind of get that relationship that some people have where they're more like friendly with their children, not necessarily the mother child or father child relationship. It's almost like your buddy buddy like equals again. And for those of you who are wondering if you have one of your kids that may have done that or could be past life stuff as well, it's normally if your child treats you like an equal and they don't honor or respect you like a parent or they don't give you authority, normally that means they haven't worked with you in the parent role yet. And so it's kind of an adjustment period for their soul and your soul. Yep. Mhm. Claire, coins. Yes, they leave dimes all the time. It's actually different in Canada where we don't have pennies like we used to. They'll actually do special things where sometimes they do leave pennies because I find pennies for my sister. But here we tend to get the dimes now. They tend to have sort of the dimes from heaven. But in America, if you are watching in the States, you'll probably still have the pennies there. So you'll have the pennies from heaven as well. And those are normally the ones where you find them in weird places. And I always tell people as well, it was somebody mentioned it to me years ago, and I always thought it was interesting. When you find a penny or when you find a dime, actually look at the date on the dime because the date itself might also have a significance to the message. So not just the dime that you're seeing it or getting that message from heaven, but actual the number might be significant in the sense that it's an angel number trying to present something to you, or it might be a significant date like a birth date, anniversary, wedding, something like that, just as another means for them to use that same opportunity to bring you multiple messages. Are losses from a miscarriage crossed over? Technically, yes, but since a miscarriage has never physically been on the earth pattern fully. They don't cross back over in the way that a human would, in the sense that if you've been in the physical body for a while, you die, you leave the body, you cross over. Miscarriages never fully go into the body or fully attach to the body. So they'll tend to step back out of it and then they'll just be back on the other side. They don't sort of have the exact same crossing pattern. But yes, they'll be safely on the other side, yes. And in the majority of cases, what's going to happen with a miscarriage or with something like an abortion, the spirit will know that something's off in the life or it's not going to work for them. So they'll give the permission that they go, yep, they'll leave. And in 3/4 of the cases, most of the times with a miscarriage, the child comes back to you at a later date, either as another child or as a grandchild. It just means something was off in the planning in their original life pattern. So they had to rework it, restructure it, and then they came back again at a later time. But yes, they would technically cross over. I can speak to the spirits of children that have been miscarried, but normally in cases like that, they don't have the same connection with you. So I'll be able to say like, oh, okay, like say they maybe were stillborn. I'll be able to go, oh yes, you got to hold them, or you have a photograph with them, or you have this little toy that you put with them into the casket. So there'll be different things that they can give you those kind of validations, but normally they don't talk to you or link with you in the same way that a family member would, that would already have things that you guys have done together physically with each other. But yes, miscarriage or abortion are able to communicate with you in the same way that anybody else would. Let me have a look. I found a blue jay feather last week. What is the significance of it? It was on my back doorstep. That's from Allison. There's a gentleman who's popping in. He wanted to bring that to you. Oftentimes, when they use feathers, I always say pay attention to the significance of the birds as well, because it'll oftentimes be the bird that they really loved when they were alive, or one that they know you like and they know that it'll catch your attention if they use it. Using animals or working with animals to present you with messages, very, very normal, because they tend to stand out to us, or like a significant thing like that with finding the feather. That would definitely be somebody coming through, especially where you found it, honored it, and sort of maintained it and kept it. So it'd be their way to send you that link. But what I always recommend with people too, when you find them, again, every single sign they send you can sometimes have multiple meanings. So also, if you find some sort of animal, you see an animal or something, they're using that specific animal sometimes to also bring you a message. So make sure you look up things like totem meanings of blue jays. So totem animals like First Nations traditions, they'll say that animals are the spiritual messages. So you can just look them up online, go on Google and say like spiritual meaning of blue jay totem or things like that. And oftentimes you'll see the message you're receiving is very significant or poignant to what you're going through in your life, and it's their way to let you know they're with you while you're going through that specific thing that you're going through. All right. Perfect. How's everybody doing? Everybody still with me? Perfect. All right. Take a sip from my cup. All right. Okay. Oh, here's an interesting one. Okay, I'm getting hearts coming in. Perfect, thank you. From Paulette. Why do only certain people come through when you do a reading as opposed to all the loved ones who have passed? Is it because only so many are willing to come forward? No, actually, it just depends on the family again itself, because they don't have ego on that side. So when we're doing a reading, say you've lost a partner or a parent or somebody that's very, very significant to you, they won't fight with the other ones in order to go give me my space as well. We're all trying to get in. They'll let whoever go through that is the most important to you be able to link their messages up. So that's why you might get a reading that I tell people, say you lost your husband, I'll go, you'll talk to your husband this time. Next time you come back, the whole reading might be with your mom. It depends on the spirits, because if they know you need more healing with that one specific person, or they can relay more healing messages to the entire family, then the others will help them maintain and open the reading's energy to link it and connect it to people, but they won't shove them out of the way to get in. So some readings you might come and I'll go, mom, cousin, brother, aunt, uncle, blah, 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 blah. We'll just go through the gauntlet of everybody. And then other ones, you might have two people come in and then somebody goes, oh, I still want to hear from my dad too. Then we'll specifically have to invite them in, because then we go, oh, can you jump over the line so that we can get you in? Each one just depends again on the family. There's no set rule other than they'll bring through what they feel is the most necessary for you. Now, also, if you were going through very personal things in your physical life, it also makes it easier for me to maintain the messages if we're not constantly swapping from people. So say you lost your mom and you want to connect to the mom. Sometimes it's easier for them to just keep the mom in place, because then I don't have to keep swapping my connection back and forth with the different people. So when I'm linked with mom, that gives her the freedom to talk about more stuff about your physical life, what you're going through, that we might not be able to cover if I'm trying to get validations and we're trying to figure out who all the other people are coming in. So again, it literally just depends on the messages themselves that are coming and also the people presenting, because some people aren't very chatty, so they might say hi. And then, like, I always tell people when I die, I go, be open to it, because you're gonna get so many messages from me. I will kick everybody out of the way if I have to, if I'm that type of personality. So I go, when I die, no worries. But other family members I have, they're very sort of like more reserved, more, kind of set in the energy that they wouldn't necessarily push in the way like I would. So they wouldn't need to sort of push me out of the way. I might be able to relay the messages. Same thing with other family members. Perfect. All right. I'm trying to communicate with loved ones, but they never come through. Now, this is actually going to be a little bit tricky depending on the people, and please don't think I'm trying to insult anybody when I say this. Most of the times when you believe that you were not getting connections from your loved ones, you were actually incorrect. You just might not be noticing the signs or messages that they're sending you. So the way that I would always word it, instead of going, oh no, I'm not getting any messages, I would say to them, thank you for the messages you've sent me. I haven't recognized them, seen them, or they're not obvious to me. Could you please send me different ones and make them more obvious so that they stand out? Like, literally, I tell people, if you don't feel you're getting the messages, tell the person on the other side. You go, I don't understand your message. Same thing like you would if when we're alive. If you don't understand something with somebody, you go, oh, could you repeat that? Can you explain it? Can you give me more detail? Could you present it in another way? Same thing with the dead. Oftentimes we find that people tend to baby the dead. So people tend to go, oh, I don't want to disrupt them. I don't want to bug them. They haven't sent any messages. Maybe it means they're not okay. In those cases, I go, no, 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 no. Crack the whip with them, and you literally go, like, snap, snap, like, give me my messages now, but make them more obvious. In many cases, you'll actually start getting connections that you didn't realize you're already getting. There are some cases, though, where they may be holding back if they're worried about upsetting you. Those are slightly different. So again, the way that I would word it is I'd also say, make my messages obvious, bring them through to me. But also, if you're worried about upsetting me, don't worry about it. I still want you to bring me a validation or connection. So you're actively participating in them giving you the message by telling them that it's okay to do that, even if you get upset, which gives them permission to not worry about it in the same way. All right. I continue to thank my spirits or angels for the animal visitors that I have. Am I to assume it is them visiting? Yes, I always say when it's an animal that's standing out or one that kind of gets your attention, most of the time it is either that spirit working with the animal to get them into the place to line up with you, or they're getting your attention to notice that animal when it is coming before you or presenting before you. So, yes, in a lot of cases, and I always say the more you thank them, the more you're acknowledging messages. So, if they see that, again, the blue jay, we'll use that blue jay example that we had from earlier. So, if they see that, you go, oh, I saw the blue jay, they go, oh, awesome, you're paying attention, you got that. I'll make sure I send you the blue jay again next time, or I'll do something else to get the attention. But they may keep using animals because they know that you're paying attention to those. So, yes, right thing that you're doing in that case there. Mm, Let me see. Okay. Okay. When someone passes suddenly, do they know what's happening? Do they know who was there or where they were when it happens? Yes. I've answered that one already, Heather, earlier. So when I am done this, I always post it right onto the social media page. So if check the replay after, because I do address that one in there. Mm. My father-in-law passed very suddenly with no warning. Would he know that he was going to die when it happened? Yes. Yeah, technically the spirit might not be consciously aware, or the body rather, sorry, not the spirit. The spirit's always consciously aware. The body might not have been consciously aware, so it might have been sort of like a surprise, not realizing the heart attack was going to happen. But the soul normally knows a few days beforehand something's up. So you'll sometimes notice, you go, oh, he was acting weird. He was a little bit different. He was super friendly, kind of thing like that. So something might be a little bit off in their actual mannerisms, personality trait, which is the soul acknowledging it. But yes, as soon as they pass, whether they were physically aware of it or not, they will have back the working knowledge of what happened, why they died, that they passed, who they're meant to go be with, where they're supposed to cross over, that they no longer need the human life. So yes, all that information will come back to them. Okay. here's an interesting one from Louise. Hi, Lulu. Who are the spirits that are here living on lands or homes that other people's live in? So that actually just depends on the house as well. You may sometimes have a spirit coming back that either lived on the land beforehand. You might have one, actually, a really great example, the townhouse that I'm in now. It's right around the St. Mary's First Nation here in New Brunswick. And so there's a lot of native spirits that will come through because this is traditional land for them. So I'll actually have a lot of them come through this area. And so whenever I move into a space like this, I always introduce myself to the spirits that I'm here with. So I'll always do the spirits of those that have been on the land beforehand or family members. But then I also introduce to the fairies of the land because myself, I believe in the elemental magics. So I also honor the fairies or elemental spirits that are on the land as well. But in a lot of cases, you might get some people popping into houses if they lived there before, just to see what you've done or if you've changed it, like family members or somebody who might have owned the house before you. But in a lot of cases, the hauntings that people get is actually family members coming to visit you to say, "Oh, I know about your new house," and then we freak ourselves out. They panic and go, "Oh God, I've just scared you. Sorry, I'm going to pull back from it." So then we think that there's a bad spirit in the house and they don't want to do it. Then we turn around and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe Dad's not sending me any messages." So it's a bit of a mix up. So I tell people oftentimes the way that I would put it is I put out to my guides and my family, I'd go, "You are all welcome here, but please make sure no other spirits that are not meant to be here or that I would not want in my house, please make sure that they're blocked from the house." So if you do that, most of the time that will get rid of them for you. You may have some cases where you might need a bit of a cleansing, a smudging, a blessing ceremony, but I'd recommend doing that no matter when you move into a house because you don't really know the energies that have been in there. Like even my one here, it was a new build, but I still cleansed it when I moved in and blessed it just because to make sure that the land was okay that I was here, but also because I didn't know the energies of the people that built it themselves, the builders, but also the people that own the properties because I rent. So I always tell people make sure no matter where you are, whether new build, older house, or something that's renovated, passed down in the family, make sure you bless it and I guess introduce yourself to the house to let them know. But in most cases, like I said, it tends to be family who's trying to get your attention, then we freak out, then they tend to not come back through. Because here in particular, actually, my house, it's I think not even a year old, I believe it is now. But this one, the lights turn on all the time. I'll come downstairs in the morning and literally my lights have been on. The lights turn on in the bathrooms because I've got sensor lights. The lights above the washer and dryer turn on and they'll stay on for days at a time. The lights downstairs will flick on even if I haven't been downstairs. So I just know it's them coming through. So I kind of have a running joke with them now that turn it off because I have to pay the bills. So it's sort of like I don't mind them doing it because I know who it is. And again, because I have so many spirits in the house when I'm doing readings, they do tend to come in to try sort of play around or they're trying to do stuff. So I don't worry about it, but some people might get scared if you come down and suddenly your downstairs lights are on when you had turned them off. Those ones I don't tend to mind, but they have limits. Like I'll go to them, don't ever unlock doors, don't open any of my windows, don't do anything where I would feel threatened or I'd feel like they're compromising the safety of the space if I don't like that. So for me, playing with the lights or like if they beep something kind of during the night, my rule of thumb to them is if they're especially coming for a reading, I'll tell them if you wake me up, you're going to make me crappy for tomorrow and it's only going to wreck your session. So let me sleep. And in most cases, they tend to leave me alone and let me sleep. So I'm actually good there. Um, mm, in some First Nations cultures, we offer spirit plates. Is there similar customs in non-Indigenous cultures? It depends on the culture itself, because there are some that you might find similarities that overlap, but each culture is going to have their own sort of specific kind of thing in how they relate together. And even in the First Nations traditions, there's if you start studying their death rituals, they're beautiful, beautiful traditions down in the States and that as well, up here in Canada. So each one's actually different. So you might have some that sort of kind of cross over, but each one tends to be specific. I found to the areas as I've studied and researched them over the years. They tend to be very particular, but you'll go, oh, this other country does something very similar. Like in the Scandinavian countries, they'll have sort of sweat lodges as well, but they're not considered sweat lodges like they have them here for the First Nations ceremonies. So similar sort of traditional sort of backgrounds for the sweating, the cleansing, the blessing. But in those ones, it would be you sweat, then you go out into the snow, know, then you come back in. So that's for sort of the cleansing of the body and the fleshing as well. So yes, there would be similar ones that would have stuff like that, but it depends specifically on the culture themselves. Some might correlate or relate together, but not necessarily exactly identical to what they would have. Mm, all right. Hi from Bay St. Anne. Yes, I mentioned earlier I'm going to try get to Bay St. Anne with my tour. Um, do you get a break from spirits if you request it? Although a gift, I'm thinking you might want a break. Like, can you go a whole day without talking? Oh, yes, yeah, I can turn it off. So when you see me do a reading, I'll actually say to people, do I have your permission? So I've just done it so long now, I know how to turn it off and turn it back on. Excuse me. So I basically say to people, it's like a radio. I turn it up when I want to hear from them. I turn it down when I don't. And that's also just for your privacy. Because if I left my energy open all day, if I was tapping into you when I was open, I'd be able to see all of your personal stuff too. And I feel like that's spying on people without their permission. So I'll actually never do that without actually asking somebody. But yes, yeah, I can turn it off and go to the mall, kind of do everything. But the minute I turn it back on, like if I turned it on back in the mall and I was consciously aware, then I could start picking up on everybody's spirit straight away, or maybe just the one person I'm looking at if they're trying to get a message across. It's just for me where I practice it, I know how to sort of fine tune it. But yes, it's not, again, that's, and again, you might have some people that maybe haven't trained in the turning it off, turning it on, that maybe do get the barrage of it all the time. But myself, no. And again, sometimes that is sort of like the Hollywood version of it. That is sort of like it's this, these voices constantly attacking you. You get no peace kind of thing. Most of the time, if somebody bugs me, and again, like rule of thumb, my guides also help me with everything. So the rule of thumb in my house is if you bug me before you're reading, or you bug me after you're reading without my permission, you're not allowed to come back in my house. And most spirits want to talk to their loved ones again, so they don't tend to bug me. So I'm lucky in that sense, but you can have it that it does overwhelm. And I mean, I can go out in a group and become overwhelmed by the energies of people, but not necessarily the spirits of the people themselves. So that's slightly different, but I kind of know how to work with that now. Mm, Okay, from Susan. Just want to know if my son knows I did everything right for him after he's passing. This wouldn't be specifically with it in there, Susan, but yes, they would. The minute that you do anything to honor a loved one after their passing, they will specifically know what you've done for them. So they're connected to you sort of through a golden cord of energy. So whenever you do something to honor them or bless them, you sort of tug on that little cord and they'll know it and they'll connect to you and come through. So any ritual, ceremony, blessing, honoring that you do for them, they, yes, 100% will know that you've done it for them, the reason you've done it, the intention you had behind it, and also the impact or the ripple that it's had. Like if you start a scholarship for somebody, they'll see the person who benefits from the scholarship, how it's going to impact their life. So yes, they'll definitely get all those details, even though they might not have physically been here to witness you doing them. Don't worry about that one. Um, Oh, okay. So Derek, sorry for your loss. This is a recent one. My dad passed away a week ago today. It was my mom who decided to stop the treatment so that he would pass away. Will my dad be upset about my mom allowing him to die? No, no. Technically, your mom wouldn't have allowed him to die by stopping the treatments, turning off life support, anything like that. That would have been your dad's decision. So we explain to people, if you stop treatments, if you take somebody off life support, anything like that, if they still want to keep living, or they're not ready to leave the physical body yet, the body will just survive. So it's like you'll see those cases where they turn somebody off life support and then they just survive, or they live for like another week kind of thing. It's that they're passing when it's their time, when they're ready to pass. In the case of your dad's passing, he would have been going to pass at that time anyway. It's just if your mom stopped the treatments, your dad would have gone, okay, time for me to go. The fact that his body died meant that he was done with the physical form and he would have peacefully passed home. So no, he wouldn't be upset about that. And again, that's see the big picture of being able to know why your mom made the decision she she made that she didn't want him to suffer. So no, they don't have the sort of anger, animosity that we think sometimes they might, because they don't have ego on the other side anymore. And the minute you pass, you know you're done with your life when you were meant to be done with your life. So you don't have an anger from dying. You just go, okay, done, time to move on to the next thing. So your spirit will never want to stay bound to earth because there's so many other things that it needs to do and continue to grow its growth on the other side, that it won't stay kind of hanging around in this angry space. That can happen sometimes, but not very often. Those are rare cases. And again, normally the spirit's not angry when they're coming around. It's that they were angry when they died and they're trying to get your attention by presenting how they used to be. So we might see it and go, oh no, that spirit's angry, that angry spirit's still coming through. It's not that they're angry, it's that the last time you saw them, they might have been angry. So they'll come back to you and you go, oh no, dad's here, he's angry. You go, oh yeah, no, that's how dad was. He wants to get your attention because he goes, no, no, look, it's me. Recognize me, because if he comes back in the soul form that he is now, you'd go, oh, super friendly, happy, lovey, not the person I knew. So each one again presents differently, but no, I promise, if your dad passed when he passed, it means he was going to go regardless one way or another, with or without your mother's involvement in that process. That one I can promise you. And again, big hugs for your loss. We're sending lots of love to your way, Derek. Um, it's a bit of an interesting one. Let me just check my time here, make sure we're good. Yep, still got a couple of minutes here. Okay, I know someone who saw their loved one during sleep paralysis, and they couldn't make sense of what they were saying to them. It was like Charlie Brown talking. Have you heard of this happening before? That's not a common occurrence, but yes, it could technically happen. So for those that don't know what sleep paralysis is, that's basically where your spirit is consciously awake, that it's astral traveling, but your body is still asleep. So you'll have that feeling of like you're being weighed down, something's sitting on you. So it'll almost be like you're awake, but you can't move, or something's trying to struggle you, or like you're aware that you're awake, but it feels like you're paralyzed. That's what a sleep paralysis is. It means your spirit's consciously aware, but it hasn't physically woken up the physical body yet. So it can't move the physical body, which can lead you to believe that you're stuck in a paralysis. Normally, in that case, when you're going that way, you're not quite back in the body yet. So you're still technically on the other side. You're still attached to the other side. So it would be very common, yes, to be able to see family members during that time, or if they're crossing over with you or coming back and forth with you. What might have been happening in that case where they couldn't understand the person is they were too close back to the physical body, so they were already readjusting their vibration back down to the physical plane, which could limit the communication or disrupt communication. But it's not, like I said, it's not that common to have it happen that way, but it's not impossible. It's more the sleep paralysis would basically be, how do we word this in a different way? It's sort of like when you wake up and you're still groggy and somebody says something to you and you go, oh, sorry, I don't know what you're saying. I haven't had my coffee yet. Same thing with the spirit. You're sort of like, oh, sorry, I'm not quite back in the body yet, but I'm not fully back on the other side. So you'll get bits and pieces, but so they might have been able to pick up on the person, but not necessarily the message that was being relayed to them. It's not a bad thing. It's not that they need to be worried about it. It just means they would have been consciously aware or visiting with that spirit while they were dreaming. Then while they were coming back to the body, they sort of had the awareness before they fully went back into the body. And that would have then triggered them awake kind of thing, or given them the feeling of, I can't move, but then they would have eventually woken up from that, but they would have seen the person that they would have been visiting with at that time. All right. If I see a butterfly, I always think of my husband because he had a butterfly on his arm. Yes, that again is that's from Martine. That is often the case, like I said, with using animals. For me, I have my butterflies as well. So I've got my butterfly tattoo. So oftentimes I'll get butterflies. But my sister tends to use the hummingbird with my niece. So when it comes to my little nieces, if you see the picture I posted earlier today, those are my nieces sitting with my sister, but she's like another mom to them. She actually sends a hummingbird to my one niece. And when I used to live next door to them, we were in my backyard and it literally came over and sat right in front of her face. And it just stopped by her, took off and went away. And a few weeks ago when I was back at their house again visiting, it came back and same thing. She was sitting on the deck and it came right over. So yes, they can use them. But for you, where you know it's the butterflies and it's already got a significance, your partner will use that in order to get your attention because he knows you're already honoring it. Court. Are dreams of loved ones messages from them or more you grieving over their loss? No, dreams tend to be messages from them. I always tell people when we're grieving, we tend to consciously grieve. When we're dreaming, we tend to be visiting, connecting, or receiving messages or some sort of connection from them in order to help us with our healing. So even if it's an odd dream, like people might get the ones where the person is still sick in the dream or they seem angry or they're not talking to them. It's not that they're not angry. So they might not, let's word this differently. I'm trying to too many bleh, too many things in one sentence. Okay. Sorry, I get excited and my brain goes quicker than my little mouth does. Even though I do talk very quickly, sometimes even I trip me up. Like if you have a dream where the person's angry in the dream, they might not be angry. It might be them coming through going, "Oh, you're angry about my death. You're angry that I died." So they might present to you as angry, which means I know that you're angry because of my death. So they'll present as angry, but each dream is its own individual one again. So I can't lump every death dream together in one. I always interpret them for people differently depending on the message you're getting. But in often cases, I tell people dreams are visitations. It just might be a way they're presenting it that you might not understand. So you might be missing the message, or it might be presented in a way that you're not quite ready to receive. So you aren't able to interpret it in the way they were intending for you to get it. Okay. Okay, and I'm noticing a couple of repeat ones. So if someone reincarnated, can you still connect with them on the other side? That one's yes, that one I mentioned earlier too. So please do make sure, guys, when it's done, I'll again post this video up on Facebook. So please do make sure that you go back and watch it again because some of them I've already answered that you might have missed. All right. Oh, this is actually an interesting one because you might, from Catherine, you might actually get this a lot with elderly parents, elderly grandparents. My 99-year-old grandma prays to go to sleep and not wake up. She wonders if she is being punished and forced to live longer. No, technically, what would have happened is in this case, her spirit would feel that it's done everything that it wanted to do in its human life, but its actual agreement was that maybe she agreed to live to be 100, 101 kind of thing. So her physical life will still kind of need to work itself out, but the spirit will be done with the process, and then you get that energy of being like, I'm done, I don't want to be here, I don't want to hang on anymore. So that'll give that sense of like, crap, I'm stuck here, I have to go through this. But it's not the case. It would be that she physically chose her earth life. It's just she might be done with it sooner than she was intending, and she might have planned for a longer one on the other side because it seemed appealing. But down here, she's like, oh no, I did everything I did in 99 years or I needed to do. And she, like I said, might be planning to be 100, 101. In most cases like that, if things are done and they don't need to fully go through, there might be rare cases where they are allowed to leave earlier. But normally it tends to be they'll sort of trail off to get their final marker when they're meant to pass. But that's actually very common, especially with elderly spirits or people that have had a lot of trauma in their human lives. If they're done with them, they're just like, I can't go on and just sort of done with it. And they'll kind of be going through the motions, but then physically, they still have to finish out the physical life. And especially when the person tends to be younger when they're going through that sort of struggle. Sorry, there's one random hair there. They tend to be going through that struggle. That's when the younger people will complete suicides because they just don't want to fully finish the physical life that they mapped out. So it is common, sometimes not all the time, but definitely let her know that she has people with her and that she is not being punished by being kept human. Okay. From Fran, can a cat see angels? Lately, my cat looks in odd places, especially in my daughter's room. Yes, animals are very sensitive. You'll often get, especially if you've lost out of animals, they tend to play with them. So if you lost a dog, your present dog might play with that dog, or like the cats might sort of react. Cats especially are highly sensitive. So you'll notice, especially during my readings, if you're in my home when I'm doing them, you'll often see my cats come in the room. So Jack comes in the room to actually have a look around to see what he's doing. But yes, animals are sensitive. In that case, when they're staring, I go, yeah, 3/4 of the time they're having to look at somebody or something. So I always tend to pay attention and say hi anyway. Even if it's somebody just passing through that I hadn't noticed, I'd be like, oh, hey, welcome to the house kind of thing. So my rule of thumb is spirits are allowed in my house because again, I have so many in the house every day for work. So spirits are allowed in the house as long as they don't disrupt the cats or bug the cats, don't disrupt or bug me, or don't do anything actually damaging or physically annoying, I guess, to me in the home itself. As long as they do that, then they're sort of allowed to roam in and out. And a lot of the time when you have family coming in, especially if the cat knew them or they might even recognize them, they'll sort of do that quick, like I eye you, kind of seeing you, and then I'm back kind of thing. So yeah, that's most of the times is somebody popping in your house. All right. When a loved one has passed 10 plus years prior, can you still communicate with them? Will they visit? Yes. Yeah. So that is from Nisa. So yes, it doesn't matter how long a spirit's been on the other side, either a long time or a shorter time. It, again, depends on the spirit and how they want to connect or communicate. Oftentimes, the ones who have been there longer are easier to connect and communicate with for me personally when I read with them, because they already know what they're doing and they know how to bring messages through. And in a lot of cases, they may have already interacted with mediums before or been familiar with that, so they can link and communicate. But yes, they don't tend to, they don't have a concept of time anymore, because when we die, spirits are immortal. So they don't actually have the same sort of timeline that we do. So no matter how long they've been with her, yes, they can still communicate. But sometimes they know if you don't need them all the time around, or you've grieved them or worked through it in a way that you don't constantly need validation, they don't tend to give you as many. So it might seem like they pulled back, but it's more they'll just come in as you need them or if you want them to. So again, in those cases, I'll definitely say to the people as well, come back through even if you've been gone a while. Make sure you continue to bring me signs and validations. All right, and how are we doing here? From Cindy, can my dog see spirits? Yes, so that's I just answered that one there. Mm. Oh, actually, this is a very good one. Christina, if a very small child is afraid of a room in the house, should I be concerned? No. I know that's going to sound weird, but I'm going to elaborate on this one. Normally, children tend to be very, very sensitive to spirits, and sometimes they'll get scared of another family member that they might not have physically met. So, say if you lose your dad while the child is still young, they might not have physically known your dad or met your dad. So, if they see him in the room, they might not recognize him in the room. So, that might be like, oh, stranger danger kind of thing like that in the room. So, they'll scare themselves because of that. Normally, in a case, I always tell people with children or anybody, no spirit can stay around you without your permission. So, you can say to your daughter, or a small child, or whoever it happens to be, just tell the spirit to leave you alone. They have to leave the room. They can't stay in the room without your permission. And then if you are still worried about it, there are different healers around that can come to your house, actually do cleansings. You can look up cleansing blessing ceremonies yourself if you want to smudge or bless your house. So there are things you can actively do to change the energy if you are concerned about it. But in most cases like that with children, it tends to be they don't recognize a person. And if they sort of just glance them quickly, it can scare them. I mean, I do readings, and like I said, I've spoken to thousands and thousands of spirits at this stage, but I can still get it sometimes when I'll turn around and somebody's like right there, and I'm not paying attention, so I wasn't realizing they were there, and those ones will still startle me too. So I mean, this is from somebody who does this for a job, so it's very easy for children to get startled. But in those cases, I go, oh my God, get out the way, or like I know how to tell them to go away. So in that case, I'd elaborate it. But where the child gets really scared, normally what I would do is then I'll get a photograph or something of another deceased family member and go, this used to be my mom. She's your angel now. She's watching over you. So give them another spirit reference that they can go to or work with, so they get in the habit of understanding that working with spirits doesn't have to be scary. And when they see another spirit, they are in charge of that, being able to tell them to leave if they no longer physically want them in the space. All right. Now, again, I do apologize, guys, because I'm seeing a lot coming in here for people that are trying to make connections and validations with family tonight. Again, I apologize. Like I said, I'm not going to focus on those ones specifically tonight, just because I found it worked so well last time on Instagram. And I'm going back and forth between the two platforms, one this month, Instagram next month, just so that everybody, if you don't have Instagram, you're still going to get Facebook ones. But I just found the last time we did the Facebook readings, it was very difficult because people kept putting comments and it would slow down. And I was spending most of the time trying to find the comments. So we wasted a lot of time, which I found was gone last time when we did it on Instagram. So if you are looking for family connections, please make sure you follow my Instagram page as well as spiritual.medium.paleki, because I'll do an Instagram live there next month where I'll actually be again picking people, bringing them on the screen with me, and then giving them messages directly from loved ones, okay? Okay. Let me see. I'll just do a couple more here. Oh, we're good. We've got a few minutes here. Okay, this is an interesting one. I'm gonna say it because it's got the word in it, and I apologize if anybody doesn't like swearing. Is he pissed that I have cried every day since he passed? No. The dead will never be angry at you for grieving them. I can 100% guarantee you. You will never be able to disrupt, anger, disappoint, or sadden the dead with your grieving. They are in a totally different energetic section, and if any spirit is worried about them, they will have them step in and intervene on their behalf to help them. So they'll go, "Don't get sad over your mom crying. She's fine. This is why she's crying." Like they'll explain it to the person so that they don't actually have to go through the process of trying to grieve for you. So no, I can 100% promise you, you can never bug the dead by talking to the dead. You can never disrupt the dead. You can never keep the dead stuck by grieving for the dead. You can never make anybody feel guilty or angry or sad because of their death because you're sad about it. No, I can 100% guarantee you that. Like, you need to grieve. They know you need to grieve. In most cases, they'll worry about you knowing that you need to be sad, but you're not letting yourself be sad. That's what they'll be more concerned about, not the fact that you're actually sad for them. That we would expect and anticipate, because when we're so human, it's very hard to go through the loss of a loved one. So in that avenue, I go, no, no, definitely don't worry about that at all. Mm. Okay, from Joanne. You keep mentioning guides and angels. Can you explain the difference? If there is one, do we connect with both in the same way? Technically, for me, guides and angels are the exact same thing. I just use the word myself interchangeably because people are familiar with both. Basically, your spirit guide or your angel has been a spirit that has never physically been born on earth. So they're not in your family. In most cases, is a soul that you choose to work with before you incarnate, or somebody that might work with you on a spiritual level, depending on what you're doing on earth. Then there are also what we call our earth angels, which are family members that have physically been alive, family members, loved ones, friends, connected ones that have physically been on earth before that can work with us to help us on our earth journey because they have an interconnectedness and already a knowing of what it's like to be human. So they can help on a different level. But when I say guides or angels, I myself mean the same thing. It just depends on the tradition you're coming from. Some traditions have guides specifically. The traditions like Christian traditions and that tend to go more with angels. So myself, that's why I just have an affinity with angels. The angels have always been a very peaceful place for my soul. And when I'm going through a lot, angels always tend to be the beings that I go to for comfort myself, just because I have that connection. So that's why I put a lot of angels on the page. But no, it would still be the same thing. Like if you're working in shamanism, First Nations traditions, when they say they're working with their spirit guide, they'll present to you the way that they know you need. So for me, where I find it comforting to have the angels with the wings, they'll come through like that to me. But when I'm doing a shamanic meditation or working with an earth spirit, they'll present differently depending on what I need that or what message they're trying to bring me. And I understand the significance of them changing, so I always pay attention to the way that they are presenting for me as well. Mm, all right, and this one is for Gail. Uh, uh, I'm sorry again. I tell people I was gonna say no, but they're there. Uh, sorry, my love. I'm giving you hugs as well. I lost my son 4 months ago in a car accident in Ontario. I'm in New Brunswick and never got to say goodbye. I have been struggling with not knowing if he is okay. Um, I'm gonna just assume if you put this on that I have your permission. So I'm gonna thumbs up on that one if you're okay with that. Yes, technically anyone that would pass in a way like that, and I know this is gonna sound weird, but and it's still a recent loss, so I do apologize if I touch on something that might be a little too to the point. I apologize, but for me, death is very normal, so I don't tend to filter when I'm talking about it. He would have passed the way that he passed because he knew physically being with you would have been too much for his death. You wouldn't have been able to handle it, so that's why he would have chosen to pass, being away from you as a way for you to almost process. Now, unfortunately, with you being the way that you are, where you do tend to over process and you overthink too much, you've kind of gone back onto the place, my love, where you've convinced yourself that you didn't get to say enough or address enough with him before he's passing. And that's more the thing that's worrying him for you. Because when he comes in, your son has a very friendly energy. Because I go, oh, he's already chatting with me. Because he comes in with a very friendly sense of humor. And the way that he's presenting means that he's okay. Because he would be presenting to you the same way he knows you. Because he's doing that, which means the two of you would have been on good terms or he would have been okay with you. So just to let you know, yes, he has passed on safely. But don't feel that you didn't say goodbye because he knows you have done the blessing for him. But this is a bit of a tricky one because you haven't yet accepted fully that he's passed. passed. So you haven't actually fully said the spiritual goodbyes yet because you're not actually ready to release him and grieve him. And again, that's completely okay. But please know that he is okay. And there's a mom energy there with him as well. It's a mothering pattern, and she was very sick before she passed because she showed me there was issues in the brain. She was having trouble with communicating or remembering stuff. So just to let you know, this lady's there with him as well, so that you know he's there safely. Okay. And Gail, if you are still online, even if you don't mind popping a comment in so I can see that you have heard my messages and that you can validate them, if you don't mind, please and thank you. Okay. Um, Sorry, I'm just reading this one. It's a little longer. Oh, this is actually lovely. I hope you don't mind me sharing it, Lynn. My mom was killed by a drunk driver in 1985. I was 6 and my brother was 5, and we were with her walking on a highway from school. She was able to throw us in the ditch before getting hit. One of the witnesses said that they saw my brother and I running through the field towards the school with our hands up in the air as though we were holding hands with someone. Could that have been our mom or another loved one who had passed? Yes, that one actually would have been your mother. Excuse me, my voice is going out. I don't know if I can keep going longer. Yes, that one would have been your mom because children don't tend to sort of have the same connection to death that we do. So being with your mom's spirit would have been just as familiar to you as being actually with the physical being of your mom. So you would have still had that link there, like you were holding hands with your mom because you wouldn't have had the physical realization yet that she had passed away and she wasn't still with you because her spirit would have still been with you. And where you were young enough, you would have still been open to receive those messages. So yes, that one actually would have been your mom, and she's giving a heart tap. Now, I'm sorry, she's also giving an honoring. Somebody in the family's named a baby after her because she's telling me that there's been a name honoring passed on for her, and she just wants to honor that because she says she's got to make sure that that gets validated for you guys. Excuse me again. All right. And I'm just looking. All right, so I'm just going to do another one or two here and then wrap it up for the night. So you lovely people can have your beautiful evenings. It's a gorgeous night out there. It is here in New Brunswick, at least. I had a spirit of a little girl show up and say that I was your grandma. Could this be an announcement of a possible birth coming? Yes. Yeah. Oftentimes, if you're open enough to it, the spirit of the grandchild, because they'll be fully developed as a spirit on the other side, they will be able to come through and present. So yes, you can definitely have somebody come through like that for you guys. Where is Jack? I think he is outside. That's true. This is one of the, I think, literally one of the few live things I've done that Jack has not been in the screen in some way trying to get attention. So, but they are out on the deck. My cats don't jump down, so they love sitting out there. So I leave the doors open for them all day. Um, I haven't been able to sleep well at night between a specific time frame, and I do fall asleep, but it's always bad dreams. Two loved ones were murdered during the night between those times. What does that mean? So that is a bit of a tricky one, Nadine, because it doesn't necessarily mean that they're trying to get your attention during that time, but it could be because your spirit's attached to the trauma of what happened to them in that time frame that it sort of disrupts itself. So what you can actually say to your spirit to help it settle down is everything's okay now. Everybody's okay. Those two passed the way they needed to when they needed to. I don't need to take on the trauma, and that can happen, especially with other people, depending if somebody dies at a specific time, anything, accident, death, anything, you can keep getting woken up at that time, anything. It's literally that happens, especially if your spirit tends to be the helper kind of spirit, where you're the one who was helping look after the family of those people who were unfortunately murdered in this case. So you would be looking after everyone. So your spirit would be consciously aware of that time because it's attached to those spirits trying to make sure their wishes are fulfilled or that you're helping in that case. But yes, that is normal. But normally, in a case like that, again, I would say everything's fine. They're settled. They're at peace on the other side. I allow my spirit and give my spirit permission to rest now. Trauma like that doesn't need to happen again. In most cases, once you consciously release the spirit from that attachment of feeling that it needs to be obligated to worry about them, it tends to settle itself back down and your sleeping rhythms will return back to normal. All right, so let me scroll. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I've missed so many comments here. I'm sorry. I thought I was on the ball tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. There's like hundreds of here. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I'm about as techie as I can get. I'm giving you what I can give you. Every time I'm like, I'm on the ball, I've got it. All right. Uh, Could you have been a fairy in a past life? Yes. Technically, you don't actually have to be human from your past lives. Your spirit is interchangeable, so it can incarnate into different bodies or different forms on different planets, depending on what it needs to work on or what lessons it wants to do or lessons it wants to gain. So, yes, it is entirely possible that you could work more on Earth in an elemental capacity in the form of a fairy or elemental like that. In those cases, though, you tend to work on other planets that are more based in that energy. But yeah, anything like that, the specific elementals or what we call the mystical creatures, entirely possible to work with them in other dimensions, other spiritual realms. Because remember, from a spiritual context, you're not bound by the same physical restrictions that you have while in your human body. So your spirit is able to manifest and create way more on the other side when it's not in a physical form than you could do physically on Earth ever. So yeah, that is entirely possible. That is have fairy energy, elemental energies from previous lives. Yes. All right. And I will have this as the last one, and then I will start wrapping up here. All right, how do we find out our guides' names from Alberta? So perfect. Thank you for that question, and that's a lovely one to sort of put the bubble on the rest of the night. So normally with guides, I tell people the best way to start connecting and communicate with them is actually physically start talking to them like your loved one. So you say, "I'm open to connecting with you. Can you please bring me signs or messages or validations so that I know you're with me, how to connect with me?" Then another really great way is often through meditation. So guided meditations or visualization meditation works really well for people. So those ones you can kind of find online everywhere, YouTube, everything. Just type in guided meditation. Those are the ones that kind of walk you through the meditation, and there's actually specific ones that are for guides. So you can go, I'm doing this meditation to connect with my guide or link. Excuse me, I apologize. My voice is a little off tonight. Oh, now I know. Sorry, I was trying to figure out why my throat hurts today. I'm sorry. I have my own little random life here. I was teaching myself Tuvanese throat chanting last night. It's the Tibetan throat chanting, and in the video, they were literally like, "Don't overdo it. You're gonna hurt your throat the next day." And I was like, "Nah, not me. It doesn't apply to me." Anyway, now, yes, it does. If you ever study Tuvanese throat chanting, do not do it for more than 10 minutes like they tell you, because I guarantee you it will get your throat the next day. Sorry. Sorry. I couldn't figure it out, and then somebody started chanting there, and then as soon as I heard them, I realized what they were doing. Yeah, sorry, I'm teaching myself the chantings, different types of rhythmic chantings for my meditations, but it's multi droning. So you literally when you're meditating with the Tuvanese throat chanting, you're literally like, so you get multi drones, but it if you haven't practiced, it strains your throat evidently. Perfect. Well, I'm drinking lemon tea with another one, so that should help. Perfect. Okay, well, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys, because my throat is a little bit off and I'm just going to rest her for a bit. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And please do make sure you follow the page. So make sure Angel Messages by Paleki, Spiritual Medium Paleki. For some reason, it won't let me change the name. So on Facebook, weirdly, I have both names on the page. So you can find me under both, or on Instagram, spiritual.medium.paleki. You can find me on YouTube, Spiritual Medium Paleki, or on my website, paleki.net. And I will definitely post on the Facebook and Instagram when I get all the dates worked out for the tour. So the Messages from Heaven tour that I'm going to be doing here in New Brunswick in the next couple of months. So please do follow that and make sure that you don't miss the deadline to be able to get your tickets. And also, because it is coming up, we're already coming into August. Just a reminder again, September 1st at midnight, I will open bookings, but I will definitely put that on the website just to let people know when bookings are open. So thank you so much, my friends. I truly appreciate you all being here. And again, for those that are looking for messages, please remember, tune in next month when I'm going to be on Instagram Live, and then I am going to be doing live readings where I'll bring you right on the screen so that I can get instant connection with you guys, all right? So thank you, my friends. I truly appreciate each and every one of you being with me. I hope you have the most wonderful and blessed evening. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.